Centering for our opening prayer, we welcome you to the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. Centering into our hearts. This is the altar within this temple body. This is the altar, and here we meet the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother. Here we meet God, the presence of God, the light of God shining down into our hearts and our souls. It's in this place that we make choice whether to live the presence of God or our separated, fear-based selves, ego selves. It's in this place, in this opening prayer, that we ask that this ceremony, that this service be sacred, and that you bring your presence in and through all of us to determine what we're to hear and learn today, Father, Mother, God. Anoint this altar in our being, each of us individually and collectively. Anoint this part of our being. Let this altar be filled with light, love, presence, inspiration, and let this shine down more and more every day of our lives, shine down into our being, into our physical, emotional, intellectual selves, into our presence, so that we can bring this presence into the world, sometimes very overtly, sometimes very covertly, beautifully, under the radar, being the presence of God. But one way or another, everyone we meet, let their hearts be lifted somehow, even if not conscious to them. Let their hearts be lifted so that all people know when they've met us, they've met the presence of God, as much as we can do. And let them feel a new ray of hope, a new level of hopefulness in their lives. Let them feel supported. Let us be this presence, and in advance, we are grateful that we can play this role to our brothers and sisters. And so it is.
From A Course in Miracles. Your newborn purpose is nursed by angels, cherished by the Holy Spirit, and protected by God Himself. Around you, angels hover lovingly to keep away all dark thoughts of sin. Angels light the way so that all darkness vanishes, and you are standing in a light so bright and clear that you can understand everything you see. Say His name, and you invite the angels to surround the ground on which you stand and sing to you as they spread out their wings and keep you safe and shelter you from every worldly thought that would intrude upon your holiness. Watch with me, angels. Watch with me today. And so it is. And now for our mission statement, which you can find on the seat backs in front of you. And join me in saying, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And so it is.
All right. Thank you for joining us. What topics would you like covered today? What's dear to your heart? What's important to you and or your life or for the people around you?
New beginning. Guardian angels. Truth.
Hold on.
Patience.
Hold on. What was the other one over here?
Truth.
True. Thank you.
As it's Palm Sunday, how about the New Jerusalem?
Guilt and shame.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Alleviating suffering and creating heaven on earth.
One before that, what was it?
Patience.
We did that one.
Guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame. And then what was yours?
Alleviating suffering and creating heaven on earth.
Which is back to that New Jerusalem. Oh. You know, it's important to remember, you know, the masters throughout history have anchored light. Like all of us can. It's not just the recorded individuals here and there that, wow, this master taught this and we should make a religion around it. There's a time for that. There's an age astrologically for teachers and, you know, to do what they're doing and so on. But the Aquarian age is about humanity. It's about everyone awakening. So we have to realize we're all in a role. We have a job to do. It's our soul's purpose. It's not a duty or obligation of a negative nature. We have a purpose. We get to be the presence of God. And in so doing, our lives change because of the good karma doing what we do. But our lives change also because we're benefiting. For every bit we share with others, we start to retain ourselves. So some of us are still waiting for others to change our lives. We're waiting for our soulmates and our soul's purpose and all the cool words. We're waiting for new levels of consciousness, the fifth dimension and ascension. And, you know, that's all wonderful. But if you die tomorrow, they're going to say, well, how'd it go? Well, I didn't yet ascend and I didn't meet my soulmate. They're going to be like, we can't even hear what you're saying. Did you or did you not allow yourself to be the presence? Did you make a difference in anybody's life? Well, I would have if I had been fifth dimensional. No. You're going back, man. 3D. Because if you don't get it here, you don't get it. You don't just get to ascend. It's a consciousness that's rising. How do I make that happen? And there are people that'll sell you herbal combinations to guarantee fifth dimensional consciousness. I swear to you, God strike me dead, it doesn't work. If you're not a nice person, you're not ascending anywhere. You got to bring it to the day-to-day. Smile at people more. And I know there's days when we don't feel like smiling. I know. Try to smile anyway. Because chances are a smile will return organically to your being, karmically speaking, because you made yourself smile even when you weren't in the mood. Do your best. Do your best to be the presence of God. New beginnings are greatly determined on two things mainly, but one is the emptying of the old self and then the restoration. New beginnings, here I go. It doesn't just happen automatically. I want to feel joy. Joy is an effect of goodness that you bring to the world. It's not just like God goes, since you've asked enough times, I'm going to bestow joy on you. It doesn't just like drop accidentally. These are effects of us becoming better people. It's hard to be miserable when you've been of service. It really is. You put in time at an animal shelter, you put in time at a senior home, or just in a grocery store smiling at people. All that you can do. And again, sometimes we're hurt enough to where we're not in the mood for that, of course. But sometimes we're actually programmed to just be busy. Too busy to smile, too busy to care. Well, that programming is not an accident. That's what the world wants, is for everybody to be just automatons, just like programmed to be miserable and then blame it on, I didn't know better. Okay, well, when do you want to find out? When do you want to know better? I don't know. Well, great, because eventually you're going to die and you'll find out a minute later what you could have done to make a difference. And then you're coming back. And, why the coming back? It's karmic. It's not like a joy that it's not like angels are going, I can't wait till my turn on earth. They're like, whoo, thank God, man. They don't have the consciousness of selfishness that becomes karmic, that loops you into this place. Yogananda describes in his interpretation, for example, of the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, but there's the concept of Krishna. Krishna and others in history, mythology, tells us about these promising figures, Osiris who resurrects. Even before Jesus fulfills it, there's concepts like Krishna. Arjuna's a person like you and me, and we struggle with stuff. And Arjuna's conflicted inside. But he's talking to Krishna, which is the voice of God, whether you take it literally or figuratively. He plays the role in the story of the voice of God talking to us. Helen, who writes, channels, scribes A Course in Miracles, had that happening with Jesus. Helen was Arjuna living in doubt, and she hears the voice of Jesus talking to her, scribing A Course in Miracles, the same as Arjuna is hearing Krishna. And we all have that voice talking to us. But we've made it so foreign that we think we don't hear it. We think it's not happening. It's incredible because I wish I knew what God wanted me to do. You do. It's what would bring the most good to the most people is generally the right decision, the right direction. What resonates most with love and self-worth? You know, one of the simplest words to change this world, to make a difference in this world, bringing about the New Jerusalem you're asking about, ridding ourselves with guilt and shame, having a place of no suffering. It's not just dimensional work we can do. It's not like just multidimensional and so on. The word is safety. Learn to feel safer and help other people feel safe. Safe to share what they want to share, experience what they're going to experience. Safety, I'm not talking about enabling just everybody to do whatever they want, including hurtfulness, but do your best to help people feel safe. What's it going to be today? Sometimes it's taking someone's hand. Sometimes it's just letting them know you're listening. But start every day with this prayer, the divine feminine prayer. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. What would you have me do today? How can I see the world through your eyes? Help me to be your presence even on earth. And it doesn't matter what your job is. You're a street cleaner, you're a counselor, whatever you do, you ask to be the presence. And when you do that, you're assigned jobs. Instead of random meetings, they're all assignments. Now, you can get a little carried away because you go, wow, the last person I talked to was miraculous. The person before that, this is amazing. And then one of them, you go, that was a little a weird one. I didn't see any shifts in the person because that one was for you. The assignments, it's just think of it, every 10 assignments, 1 or 2 are yours to receive. Somebody's there to make a difference in your life. It could have been just to say thank you for the last 8 you worked on. It could be lessons you haven't learned. So you keep an open mind. You stay out of the arrogance of, wow, now that I do this opening prayer, I'm like a superhero. When I jump out of bed, I do the stance they all do with one knee down with, all the superhero movies. But man, the greatest symbol of this is the Garden of Eden. Hey, let's all go to the Garden of Eden. Well, it seems like a foreign concept. It's a mythology. It's an old story. No, we start oneness with God. And then we're wondering if we could separate from love, from God. And the Garden of Eden becomes a place where we're able to live in the universe that the mother's now co-creating with us back at that time. It's expanding universe. The universe is happening, but it's all about dimensionality. So in other words, even though the third dimension is being created, it's a multidimensional universe. Well, one of these dimensions is the Garden of Eden. When we were living in higher dimensionality and consciousness, we were experiencing the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden was a place, though, where God would commune with us easily and regularly. Today we're like, oh, I wish I knew what God would want me to do. Return to your heart. Return to your soul. Return to the place of love. Learn to love and forgive, which is a heart-centered thing. It's not a root-centered thing. It's not a navel-centered thing. It's not a solar plexus thing. Love and forgiveness right here. And every time you're practicing that, you're actually brought back a little bit more to the Garden of Eden, which is not just a location, which it kind of became later or earlier in life, but it's a frequency, it's a level of consciousness. And some people think, man, one day we're going to the 5th dimension. You will. But that's not the highest dimension. But it seems like it's as good as it gets. 5th dimension must be the absolute, ultimate, right? Well, no. You know why it seems ultimate? Because it's higher than this one. You mean, well, what about the 4th? No, you're in the 4th and 3rd dimension right here. When you're awake, you're in the 3rd dimension, slightly 4th dimensional. When you're sleeping, you're mostly 4th dimensional, slightly 3rd dimensional. When you start to daydream, when you drift off, when you get stoned, you're drifting into the 4th dimension a little bit, so it seems really cool. Wow, look at that. I can see things, I can see my words. Trippy things are happening. Well, because the 4th dimension is kind of abstract. I played soccer when I was in high school, and I remember these guys, friends of mine, showed up, and they're just like, and I'm like, hey, how's it going, guys? Man, we're tripping. We're tripping on acid. I go, what? And I just started speaking to them. They're like, and I'm going, how's it going? Go, 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 go. You know, I started flailing my hands about. They're going, dude, stop moving so much. And I'm going, why? Anyway, mischievous, So I think they all went sober after that. But we drop, we have this dimensionality. The fifth dimension just seems higher, but it seems like if we're third and fourth, fifth is it. It isn't. It's beautiful. I mean, it's beyond words. Even the fourth dimension is impressive to third dimensional beings. But there's so much more. In God, in heaven, by the way, there's no dimensionality at all. It's beyond measure. So there's no thing you can put. You can't put a frequency. It's a complete oneness. There's no variables anymore. But we forget, Mars is first dimensional. The moon is, the beings on Mars are different dimensions. They're not third dimensional. You don't see Martians. They're one-dimensional beings. Moon is two-dimensional beings. Earth is third-dimensional beings. Venus, there's beings, but they're fourth dimensional. Then you've got, fifth dimension, Jupiter. You've got Uranus, Uranus, and then you've got Mercury, Pluto. Pluto's eighth dimensional. And it would be, because eight's such a trippy dimension, in itself. And Pluto's a planet. They're going to get over that little story at some point. Neptune, Neptune, man, ninth dimensional. Then what? Well, that gets trippy, and I'll just bear with me for just a sec. Saturn we left out. Saturn is void of dimensionality at all. It's like Saturn is the planet that symbolizes karma and sort of like, it's kind of like hell. It's the planet of hell, which is our karma. So the god Saturn in Roman mythology, that god is like Tartarus. It's the one that brings your karma. Saturn return. Everybody loves those. No, they're generally horrible times. Why? Because we have to go back and deal with our stuff, and we don't want to. So we blame Saturn or Satan. That's where you get the word Satan from, Saturn. So we blame Satan, Saturn. Oh, Satan's out to get me, a Christian might say. Somebody else is Saturn return. They have different names for it, but it's all the same, which is your stuff is back. Unhealed stuff has come back. So that said, it's void of dimensionality in a sense that I can't go too far into that. But when we go through these dimensions, in between every lifetime, you're going through most or all of these different frequencies. You don't just leave Earth and come back, although that can happen for some. Generally, you leave and time seems warped because you can do a lot of things in between lives. It could seem like a day, but in between, you're actually going to other planets working on the things of that dimension. You're going and working on the things of mysticism. You're going and working on spiritual and psychic development, depending on what planet you visit, which must sound really out there if you're like visiting from Nebraska and you thought this was just a church. Keep it in, it's okay. Her water started coming out her nose on that one. No. Anyway, no, but if you're visiting and thinking, oh, we're going to just hear a lovely service about something, we're out there in different planets. Here we are. But when you do this, even if you accomplish a great amount of leveling with these different planets, like you're really getting the lessons, you go to Arcturus. And Arcturus sends you back again. Like it takes you, reevaluates, and sends you back to the right place. So Arcturus is sort of the overseer of our solar system. Okay, but if that's a little too trippy, bear with me. So you're asking about things like guardian angels. And I love the quote that was shared about angels, because angels are messengers of God. That's what the word translates to mean to us. Messengers, but messengers of safety, messengers of guardianship. You have angels that actually hold space, like keep your aura together and your chakras functioning properly. I mean, you have guides like that, and there's some of them are called doorkeepers, but angels watching over. And it's amazing because they sort of see your Akashic records that you don't see. So they know when you're going to be in trouble. They know when you're struggling, and they hear all of it, and they mourn with you, but they don't buy into the things you think you have that have power over you. Angels can see more clearly. Any being of any higher dimensionality can see more clearly. Why don't we practice just seeing more clearly? Trust in what you don't see, goodness that you don't see, and then it becomes a reality. It's like pretty sweet, but that takes faith. And people go, oh, that's just corny stuff. I trust what I see, which is your problem. Because this world keeps trying to reflect 3D stuff, density, karma, limiting belief systems. We come in with these, all these issues. We believe in time and space, which is time and space means you're a limited being. Go to higher dimensions and time and space start to warp and not become what we have here. But we talked about that a few weeks ago. The two laws, not just time and space. The third law is called patience, which doesn't seem at all like a universal law. But what it is in the Trinity of God, time ruled by the Father aspect of God. Space, the mother aspect. She's the womb of the universe, she's space. But patience, where did patience come in? Because if you exercise your free will to be patient, it means I trust in God. I trust that all things are going to work out. Everything will work out in the end, and if they haven't worked out, then it's not yet the end. So I'm going to be patient. Not patient like, impatiently patient. It means I'm trusting that the game is rigged in our favor. Everything is going to work out. People that I cannot forgive, at the end, everybody's going to be forgiven. Then I start to say to myself, well, then why wait? Let's just do it now. If you have issues with God, well, someday I'm going to get to that. But you're going to, eventually, it's going to happen. You're going to clear up your issues with God or with men or women or government or religion or whatever it is. You know that as a holy being, you don't carry that to the fifth dimension, let alone sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. You don't do that. It doesn't work that way. But if I'm not going to carry it all with me, then why carry it today? Why not just clear it now? And that's sort of a maturity, spiritual maturity that's happening. If Krishna spoke to Arjuna, why don't I just hear that voice now? If Jesus was speaking to Helen as a channel, why don't I hear that voice now? Let's just practice it. Practice hearing the voice of what would love do? What would be the most loving thing in this situation? Yeah, but mine's different. Really? How so? But because I have, marital issues, and that's very painful. Try crucifixion. You're going to fall in love with your ex if you tried to choose between those two. Honey, you're looking pretty good to me now if I could just get off this cross. Jesus was brutally beaten and crucified, and he still taught and loved them anyway. So we can't really get away. You could try. Well, I would be happier if only my ex, if only the government, if only. We can blame, but there's a point where the blame all falls away. It's okay if you want to sit, if you still need to have somebody to be angry at and blame, be with that. Your counselor shouldn't wrong you for it. Your sponsor shouldn't wrong you for it. What we need to do is learn to become safe containers for that. And what's happening, it's interesting. When you enter a safe container, it's like entering higher dimensionality. You guys could be sitting here going, well, we're sitting and learning and listening. Every one of you has been in every one of those higher dimensions. Every one of us has been there. So it's not like I wish I could be one of those. You have. You've been in ninth dimension, fifth dimension, seventh dimension. You've been in all of them. But the question is, why couldn't you stay? Because you still had other things to work on. And that's the work. That's where we have healing to do. Work, learning and healing. So when you're evaluated, let's say you move on to Arcturus where you get your reprogramming. How's everything going? How did your journey through the solar system? Which, by the way, each planet has a different sound. So when you're traveling, you're actually traveling through music, through a composition. Yeah, isn't it? You know, it's like Venus, just love, wow. And then when you start hearing doom, 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 you know you're near Mars. You know, when you hear War March, man, you know you're... And Mars is not just war, Mars is also get something done, right? Mars is needed when you need to start new things and get moving, when you need to come out of depression. You might want a little Mars energy. Let's go, man. Let's march. Let's do it. Let's get something done. And then there's times, you know, the mystic planets, the psychic, spiritual planets. You know, Jupiter is a planet that symbolizes the presence of God in many ways. So there's all these higher dimensions, but yet I'm on earth because you're supposed to be bringing. If you spent enough time on the other side, in between lifetimes, a planetary sojourn, and music is playing to you, and one of the songs that called to you was a planet that said, we want to initiate you into being a sound healer. There's a planet where you get that more than another. So you're there and you're not walking around, you're not beef jerky on Mercury, you know, it's a different vibe. They download to me, man, they're not my fault. So, you know, it's not the same. Well, do we have air conditioning on Mars? No, it's not like that. That's Vegas. So it's different. It's frequency. And it's hard to understand. Most people don't even understand completely the 3D world, let alone anything else. But there are beings who have seen things like this, mystics. St. Martin, Swedenborg, if anybody's familiar with Emanuel Swedenborg, he'd go into these trances and talk about what life was like in other places. And then they all shot down Swedenborg and they said, oh, he was proven wrong because we have telescopes now and we don't see people walking around on those planets because they were expecting 3D people on non-3D planets. In any case, we have this concept of multidimensionality. And I go and a planet, a frequency, downloads music to me and it becomes like integrated into my being. Now when I talk, when I think, for some reason, it's more musical. What I hear is harmonious. What I hear is there's rhythmic. There's something happening in me. And you may come back and be a composer, but you also might just come back and the musical downloads you received from that planet might take a different form. It might mean that you write poetry because that's music to your ears. It might be the way you see things. The way you perceive life becomes almost like a composition, layers. You know, it's amazing. But your gifts aren't accidental. You got them from mainly two places. They were never just bestowed on you and nobody else. You got them in between lives. Where you were determines how much it's affecting you today. You know, like if you've just arrived from Mars, you're going to maybe have a little too much edge, a little intensity, but it's necessary. It's one of your lessons. It's one of your things. Whatever the planet you've been to that really impacted you between lives affects, but so does your own karma from other lifetimes. If you did music in another lifetime, it could be affecting you today. All that said, that's really grand and profound if you think about it. Nothing is really more important, no matter what planet you've been, no matter Arcturus, and you're a channel, you're a counselor, you're a supernatural musician. It's, do you create a container for people? Don't, even if you're a musician, don't just play at them. Create a container, invite them in so that they can be permanently affected by the experience. I remember back in the 80s, in a magazine, I was interviewed and it was bizarre. I just started going off on something and it was music. And this was in the, let me think, late 80s. And I said, music is going, as we know it, the music world's going to crash. It's going to disappear. Nobody believed me. And then it happened. It started breaking down to where today labels ripped off so many musicians, nobody knows what direction to turn. And then everybody thinks, well, we've already heard all the music. There's nothing new. There is, but it's got to be channeled now. That's the real music. Whether it's you're playing a fiddle, which is just a unique way of playing a violin, but you're playing a fiddle, you could be playing keyboard, you can be just vocal. And so what's happening is today's sound healing, right? Today, light language, that's the new music. But do you think you're going to turn on K, what the hell, you know? Welcome to K, what the hell? And the latest number one song, you think it's going to be, you know, just some abstract light language. Oh, that's a hit. Nobody can sing along with it. And then when they go to do it live, it's always different because it depends what's happening through them. See, but that's the thing. It's good. It can't be controlled. It can't be trapped and put in a box. Here's the hit. It's got this section and a chorus, and you know where's the hook? You put down what you expected from music before, and you experience it. That's the new music. But that's also the new everything. Everything is shifting. That's why so many people also lean towards altered states, which can become a dependence. But why so many people, why it's so popular? Because those people wanting the altered states have it right in the sense that this world is not real. And everybody keeps telling us it is. So we're going to reach out for altered states that's closer to true. You see what I mean by that? So what they're doing is they're hungry for more multidimensional experience. The compulsion is understandable. What's amazing is when you need nothing to take you there. Not a person, not a thing, but simply there. You know, you choose to be there. And I have to say, in a 3D world, that's not always easy, nor is it easy to convey that to the world, that's what you're experiencing. You become almost a savant. You become almost, you know, it's just different. It's hard to connect with this world because you see things like this. But the world didn't, you know, I remember in school there was a history, I think, and science classes, English, I don't remember, and multidimensionality. Nobody told us how to deal with this. They told us there's something wrong with us. They told us we might need special ed. They told us all kinds of things except that makes total sense. Nobody said those words. And that's a container. I'm not like my brothers and my sisters. I'm not like my parents. They're all accountants and I don't know. I just know things and I feel things and, oh, you know, there's medication for that. That's the answer you're going to give me, really? And you know what? It's very sad. But it makes sense in a world that used to run on nothing but that, having to adapt to a different world now. We are entering already another dimension. We're already third and fourth, but we're already entering the fifth dimension. You think it was going to be a day, January 1st, 2012, or whatever you thought it would have been. And boom, oh, we're all just fifth dimensional. No, there's an adaptation period. And that's the same as in the past. We never just went from Lemurian to something else. There were races in between. Time lags, in a sense, in between, that there was some time to adapt. But the adaptation for us is recognizing the brilliance that's downloading. If you can create a container, then it'll be easier for those of us that live in that dimensionality to convey and explain what we're seeing. Right now, it sounds abstract. Why? Because of the stubbornness of the 3D people saying, either put it in 3D terminology or get medicated. But some of these people, whomever, the Steve Jobs or me or you or whomever, that kind of has this ability to tap in, the 3D people, it's funny, they're buying the things that those 5D people made, created. So they're coming to you. And the people that just go, you know what? Listening to certain music, I found out it never did it for me. Sleeping around just didn't do it for me. Drinking drugs, none of it ever did anything. But I went to this sound healing and it took me somewhere. It was bizarre. It was almost like things I used to experience when I was tripping. It was love that I felt when I was most in love with a healthy, safe person or whatever it is. You see, it's like you start to realize, people are going to more and more realize this abstract 5D concept is actually not that abstract. It's abstract if I'm stuck in the 3D. But the more I open up, the more this is making sense. And it doesn't make sense in my head. It makes sense in my heart. I can feel it. There's something here. There's something unique. Analyze it too much and you kill it. Analyzing things freezes them, and then they're, you could say, dead. They're stuck. But to just go, wow, wow. Oh, and wow on top of that, wow. To just allow the mind to, oh my God, like that. If somebody says to you, I wish I understood what love is, you can go, well, love, I was married once and I was in love and they passed away and, and I learned to love this and that and now I have a pet. You're all in your head. Instead, there should be this, they're asking, I wish I understood what love was about. Pause. And what I call search find. Love for me, and you start to channel it. That's different from thinking it, past referencing it, although sometimes past references are part of the dialogue you share with people. But the point is, you search find. All of us can do this. You could call it reading the Akashic records. That's a classic terminology for it. But you're not having to trance to do it. Edgar Cayce would go into a trance amazingly, more accurately than anyone else that's ever lived, shy of Jesus himself or a couple masters. He would read the Akashic records just amazingly, perfectly, beautifully, in great depth and detail. But when he woke up, he couldn't remember any of it. That's an unconscious channel, not in a negative terminology. It just means you don't remember. But the reason he couldn't remember is because he was programmed that doing this sort of thing is wrong. There's no such thing as multidimensionality. There's no such thing as the Akashic records. So when he was reading them, he needed to block his memory of having done it. Does that make sense? For his own what? Safety. Safety. I need to feel okay. So it wasn't really me. It was another thing. I went into a trance. That wasn't me. It's safe, but it's a unnecessary safety, but it's what he believes he needed. For me, it's odd. I feel very, in a sense, tapped into channeling like that. But when people said, do you channel? I don't roll my eyes back in my head. I don't have to go into sleep like Cayce. All I do is my best to be open to God, through self, to others. What would you like me to talk about today? See, we're in this together. That's what makes the channel most open. To God, self, and others. We're in this together. What would be the most good? And that's what helps make me be able to do that. If I sat around and conjured this up and thought it through and made it something ambitious and just money-making or whatever, it would possibly diminish it. So all of us care enough about people to not tell them what you think. Ask in your subconscious way, unconscious way, ask in your silent way, I'm going in. What would you have me do here, God? You mediate between people and words just come through you and it's like magic. But you got to trust that. You got to try it out. And then when it works, even one time in 1 month, say to yourself, I did it. I trust. I don't even know anything about whatever the topic was that somebody asked you about. And it all came through and it made a difference in their life. Yes, have that attitude. Yes, give thanks, more will be given. Brush it off. That was kind of a fluke. I probably got lucky. It's very sad because you're diminishing a miracle. Why would you want to do that? Miracles are of God. Why would you want to do that? So never underestimate the power. I don't care how dimensional, it all comes down to creating safety. There's, what we could call ego risk and soul level safety. Ego risk means running on old programs. So when you say, Michael, lend me $5 and I'll pay you later. Old programs, oh no, I've done that before and I got ripped off. That's old risk. That's ego risk. Risk is when you don't trust somebody. You're afraid to love them because what might happen. See? Those are all ego-based risk. I'm going to try out this job. I'm going to move to this town. And you're taking all of this risk consciousness, which is called fear, with you. I'm going to go try out that new job. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do, but it's all constricted. It's fear-based. And some people love risk because they're so in their ego, they get adrenaline highs by risking all the time their mortality for that matter. But soul level safety is completely different. In God, there's not even a word of safety because it's beyond question. But in the lower centers, you live life of risk. You sleep with people you shouldn't have slept with. You're doing drugs that you didn't realize they were going to do something to you. You drank too much. It's risk. Driving too fast. All these things. That's lower consciousness. That's the lower human and ego self. Where there's no risk per se, and instead you learn to live safety, it's of the heart. But this is interesting. I don't just say, okay, heart, manifest some safety for me. The more you live in your heart, the more you love and forgive, the less karma you have, which means you're not going to have as much risk walking out your door because there's less karma because you're a nicer person. So you're sort of setting it all up before you walk out your door. Now, don't get me wrong. You'll be tempted if something goes wrong. You're going to go, well, Michael said if I'm a nicer person, so he must be judging and thinking I'm not a nice person because something went badly today. No, man. Listen, you've got all kinds of stuff hidden in the subconscious, old patterns and karma that have to be worked out. It's still better to live from a consciousness of safety. But the safety is a certainty. It's in your heart and soul. It's a memory of your innocence, not your guilt and shame. It's a place of purity. My pure intentions. I start becoming a nicer person. That puts a frequency out there that boomerangs back and helps me attract healthier scenarios in my life. Healthier environments, healthier people. Maybe not perfect, still going to have stuff. But every day that you practice love and forgiveness, Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, every day that you pull that off, you're eliminating thousands of years of your life. And some people don't get what he's saying. How could you eliminate thousands of years? You only live 80, 90, or whatever it is. How could you eliminate thousands? He's talking about future lifetimes. You're eliminating past and future lifetimes simply by being, that's how supernatural it is, simply by being a kind person. Once upon a time, just briefly on this, we lived in a dimension of Eden. And in Eden, all your needs are taken care of. Now we think, oh, that means if you needed this, food and clothing stores were there. It's a dimension of pure safety consciousness. You see, it's not a thing where your needs externally were taken care of. But even as we fell denser and denser into this world, became 3D, then the garden itself starts to sort of disappear. So we hear Adam and Eve were cast out of Eden. Actually, it's their consciousness shifted. They were no longer living an Edenic consciousness of purity, of innocence, communion with God. If you practice communion with God and blessings to others, you're returning to Eden. So we come into this space and place, and we go through lifetimes in various civilizations. The Lemurians eventually become a dense race, but they go from being multidimensional living, high dimension living in Eden. They're falling more and more, and we come to a place like Lemuria. So now before that, these children of God that we are, Adam and Eve weren't just individuals, they were a group, a soul group. And that soul group was called the morning stars in the Bible. And it describes when the morning stars fell to the earth. That was us. We fell from higher consciousness to density, which is like a karmic thump landing. And all of a sudden, limitless beings into limited. Eternal life to X number of years and you're gone. Wholeness, sickness. Abundance, right? Lack. So it's very unfortunate that we fell, but it was our choice. It was our testing the waters. Let's risk. Let's be risky. Let's go into the earth plane and pop in and pop back out. That's part of what we did. But when you popped in and became dense, you didn't have the consciousness to know how to get out. So we kind of got stuck. So long story short on that. Once upon a time, we're called children of God. We're just children of God. That's it. We're creations of God. But then the morning stars. When we land in Lemuria, we're called children of the One. Children of the Sun in Lemuria. In Atlantis, children of light. It's the same people, us. This soul group that's come in that became the human race. And now those of us that are trying to do the work and keep alive, we're calling ourselves something new. Now we're children of the law of one or other names in Atlantis. Later on, the names change again. Light workers. But before that, children of the law, children of the sun, it's down, down, down. And we also become what's called children of the way. What does, in the Far East, it's believed that there are traditions that are ancient and they're sort of residual from Lemuria. Hinduism, Taoism, and so on. But what is Tao? The way of God. The way of God. So Taoism, Far East, is telling us the highest teachings are to land the way. Get into the way. The Druids, the original holy Druids, called themselves like, we're here to prepare the way for the Christ. His name, they even had a name for him that was almost the same exact lettering and wording and pronunciation of Jesus. But, wow, the way. Jesus calls himself, I am the way. You see? So Taoism was telling us, become children of the way again. It's another wording for children of the sun. But at this point, it's called children of the way. And then the Essenes are, we're here to prepare the way for the Christ to be born into our community, which Jesus was born through. So this wording, the way of Christ, now daughters of heaven, is the most recent name for the awakening human beings. And this came through in our talks a few years ago. There's a book on that, The Daughters of Heaven. There's a conference, there's a website. Learn more about it. Or if Daughters of Heaven is just too direct, it's just too much of the Christy stuff, then just use something more generic like study light workers. You're not going to have an easy time just finding material and training on Morning Star training. That's like other dimensional. But here on this earth, there's nothing higher than to becoming a daughter of heaven, to recognize it's not female, it sounds like it, but daughter of heaven. Daughters of heaven are, I'm not just here to be a light worker, which is really, really, really amazing. I'm an author, I'm an astrologer. Those are all light workers. It's fantastic. Daughters of heaven are doing something unique. They're saying, I don't want to just do the work and help people. I want to be the presence of God here. So they have a closeness with Christ, with Jesus, with Mary, with Kuan Yin, with Krishna. It can vary, but it's still a little more to the point than more casual, broad teachings, let's say, of light workers. So we've been doing this a long time, and sadly we forgot our true identity, our original identity. We're all children of God. When you create safe space, like a listening ear for somebody, you're not just listening. Learn to set your intention so high that you're listening, you set the intention of it to new levels. I'm not just kind of listening. It's how can I be helpful to you? Let people matter. Let them, show them that you care. How can I help you today? Never enabling. Don't go overboard and be a rescuer. But oh my God, the difference you make in people's lives when you let them know you're there. How can I be helpful to you today? You know, well, why are you giving such a large tip, to whomever you're dealing with in life? And you say, because I think you deserve it. You know, those are words that land something. Convey that in a smile. You know, picking up a person who's trying to walk a long distance. I'm not saying do things that aren't safe for you, but create a safe container. Let people know that they matter. So you can make poor risks unsafe. That's absolutely ego. It's karmic. It's not healthy. You can learn to make healthier risks, such as I'm going to risk sobriety. I'm going to risk telling someone I love them. And they might say, well, I don't return that to you. That's okay. Be prepared. You got to hold your space. If your container is something that you try to pour upon others and they refuse and they reject you, and you let that affect your container, the container wasn't strong enough in the first place. Hold your container. I'm going to risk this. The symbol of Aquarius is a person pouring out urns, right? An urn of what? Water. No. You think it is. Kuan Yin always has her vessel, and she's usually tipping it. Why? Aquarian, why Kuan Yin? It's never a symbol of water. It was always love and compassion. It was also, even in astrology, the Aquarian pouring out the urn, it's never been water. It's called ether, which is the highest element we can know here. So it's pouring a new level, and it's higher dimensional consciousness. So Aquarius is pouring a new level of consciousness. When you enter the age of Aquarius, you are rising in new levels of consciousness. Thank you, the age of Aquarius. And Kuan Yin pouring her love and compassion. And somebody might go, well, that's Eastern. I don't believe in that. I'm sorry. Mother Mary. They're the same. It's the Divine Mother in her mode of, how can I help my children today? Great. Daughters of Heaven would say, if I'm the presence of God, how can I pour that upon the world? How can I pour love, forgiveness, compassion upon people? And you're going to have bad days. It's part of the 3D world, but how quickly can you forgive yourself? Just because I'm saying this, you might be moved by all this today and go, I'm going to change my whole life. I think that's great. But if you put yourself to shame that, it's Sunday, and Sunday you're out in the world and extra tips and you're doing some really beautiful gifting in the world. And on Monday, you're maintaining it. Tuesday, Wednesday, still there. Thursday, yes, oh my God, miracles I experienced today, brought love and life to people. Friday, and then Saturday, and you're like eating a burger and having a smoke, and I just, people just really irk me, You get all carnivorous. There's a chant for those days. It's called oops. It's all oops. Sit in McD's or wherever you eat your burgers. Oops. Just sit there chanting. It's Sedona, especially if you're in Sedona. Nobody will question it. There'll be people, visiting from Wyoming and, walk by and, Mommy, are they okay? Yeah, honey, this is Sedona. Oops. It's okay. You're going to have days that just irk you, but sit and say, you know what? I'm not going to be a container today, but I need one. And it could be the person checking you out, and have a great day. Oh, well, that was nice of them. Soak it in. Well, they just said, have a great day. They probably say that to everyone. What, do you need to be special? And the only one they said, have a great day? Soak it in and say, that was wonderful. That was wonderful that they said that to me. Maybe you're the only one who heard it. You see? So watch those miracles and soak in those miracles. Let them make a difference. I want to start identifying with my heart and soul again. Love, forgive, compassion. Pour out this concept. And in closing, remember safety. There's a bridge to healing. Wounded is over here. Wholeness, healthiness, awakened, miracles, that's all over here. Here's you wounded, and here's your new self. And there's a bridge. And the first half of the bridge has to do with coming out. Like if you're going to stay wounded, you can never receive or experience wholeness, but you got to come out a little bit. So the first half of the bridge is called control. Why? Because anybody you're working with, including yourself, has to feel like they're still in control. That's not a person who's free, but it's a start. So the first half of your healing, I need to still be in control. Okay, and that's okay. You go and get a chiropractic adjustment. If you're afraid and they're about to adjust, say, give me a second. That's healthy control. You talk to a counselor and they say, let's talk about a certain topic. You know what, maybe next time. That's healthy control. But you need to feel like you're in control to make the first half of the bridge. The second half of the bridge is trust, seemingly the opposite of control. I'm in control, I'm letting go of control. You cannot become a new person. You're only wounded and broken and limited and can't be a new person unless you first learn to know how to maintain control of yourself, that you're the one making the rules with your counselor. You determine how much you're going to go off cigarettes at a time, alcohol, or whatever you're going to do. You go ahead, stay in control. As long as there's progress, it's healthy control. Fake control is when you look like, speak like, oh yeah, I'm on my way, and you never actually make any progress. And then you're going to hook people in. Family members that are going, we think they're for real this time. They're going to make a difference in their lives, and we won't have to be afraid for them anymore. And you always mess with them, and you always revert back to your little control trips. It's very damaging to everybody. You're in control, but let's go somewhere, man. And you get here, and the midpoint, you start to trust. And now you surrender to the chiropractor, you surrender to the massage, and at any moment you feel unsafe, you know how to speak up and say, that doesn't work for me. That's okay. My point though, the bridge to healing, half control, half trust. But there's one theme that's in both halves: safety. I will not ever be in healthy control if I'm not safe. I will never be safe enough. If I'm not safe enough, I can never totally trust. So the bridge to healing, figure out where you are in that bridge in your own life. And you can tell if you're still constantly needing to control how much you talk about something or what you're doing and who you're going to see and when and how many days of this and that. It's okay, because that's fear talking. But just measure it and go, I think I'm maybe right here. But double check yourself. Am I feeling safe? Because if not, maybe that's why you're snagged a little bit. A little more implementing safety, giving yourself permission. I'm okay. I can talk to somebody about this. How do I know? I've always been betrayed when I've ever talked about my personal stuff. It's betrayed. People have betrayed me. How do I know I can trust? Well, you know what? Let's start with talking about things that aren't too damaging and let people get used to you coming out and talking more. I remember a guy when I first came to Sedona, he and his mom attended. And if you're watching, sorry in advance, but he and his mom used to attend. And he was big on astrology. And one time he said, what sign are you? I said, I don't really talk about those kinds of things. And, oh, no, man, I'm an astrologer. And okay. And I said, well, it's not something, I believe in astrology, clearly. But I just said, I just don't usually go there with people because I have a certain perspective and a understanding of astrology. So, and oh no, please, okay. Told him my sign. Not a week later, people at the center start, oh, I heard you're this and this and that. Not even a week later. Now, part of me can go, that's it. Never again will I tell anybody what sign I am, which I don't. But I saw he's also a symbol of me trusting. If I let him become the symbol of proof that I shouldn't trust, I'm wounded again. You see what I said there? So he's a mirror of you, and they're a test for you. So I said no, and made it, it's an easier thing. Not because there was ever secrets about it. It's just, I'm seeing it so expansively. It's not that I'm hiding a secret. We're all the signs. My perspective is a little different. We're all the signs. Even if you have an afflicted sign chart, it's planted into this and that, a house, it doesn't matter. They're still all part of you. Something seems absent. You don't have any water signs. It's all symbolic. And they're all still part of you. You have all the elements, all the signs, planets, everything. All the houses, it's all here. It just might look a certain way. So, I learned from that. And things are going to tempt you and test you. I'm not going to love again. I'm not going to do this again or that again. Get that and see what it's really about, guys. That was you testing yourself and you're reacting. I understand they might not have been appropriate. They might not have held sacredness to information you shared. That's their thing and their karma. But why you? And that was you testing to see, is that such a big deal that you can use it to shut down? And if I were you, I'd say, oh, good one, man. That was a good, yep. I saw how that flew under the radar, but no. And you come out and you share it with somebody else to make sure you're open, you're expansive in that way. Make sense? Let's please take a few centering breaths. We're going today, instead of just a sort of a channeled, spontaneous meditation, we're going to share a goodbye exercise. Goodbye exercise. Don't assume that it's going to end in any literal goodbye that you have to live by. Just relax. You're letting go of symbols of people, concepts. Think about an individual or group that symbolized a lack of safety in your life. A single betrayal, it could have happened today. It could have been in childhood. You might even end up with some sort of past life betrayal and harm done that you know happened and psychics have told you about it and it's affecting you. Whatever comes up, we're asking the Holy Spirit, our Divine Mother, to bring forward. This will only be a few minutes. So trust. Show me the image of a person or group that I need to release to a new level today. And then hear these words. I am calling you, and name them, into this process today, to this healing today. I have the power and the right to call you here. This is given by God to me because I'm looking for healing. I am calling you into this moment. My relationship with you has affected my life. It's all right if tears come. I'm just being honest. My relationship with you has affected my life. Tell them how. It has affected what? My trust, body image, confidence. Let it spontaneously flow from you. Parenting, education, finances. Tell them how it's affected you. Be courageous. Be honest. My relationship confused me. Tell them how. My relationship with you frightened me. Tell them how. Spontaneously, let it flow. Tell them how your relationship with them made you sad. How it made you angry or hurt. My relationship with you, again, has affected my life. And it's time to let go of the effects of our relationship to a whole new level today. But to do that, I have to let you go to a whole new level today. So goodbye. All I want you to do, please, visualize the person fading for about 30 seconds. Quietly in your mind, goodbye. Let them fade slowly. Now out loud if you don't mind. Goodbye. Goodbye. Fading, fading. With them goes all vows, debts, karma, agreements, and contracts between you. One more goodbye out loud. And listen carefully, because if you let them fade the rest of the way, it also means that you're willing to let go of all hope that they would have been different. You cannot have attachments and agendas. And that can be very sad for some of us who hoped that was going to turn around, hoped that somehow that was going to be fixed. It's letting it go unconditionally. The more you pull that off, the deeper your healing will be. Inhale and release them with an exhale. The rest of the way, and let them fade away. Now, imagine they do not exist. I don't care if it's a current partner, friend, child, parent, they do not exist. Energetically speaking, imagine for a moment, what if the person that did all those things, what if they do not exist? It's going to mean you're going to have to get adjusted to the idea of, if they're gone and the effects are gone, how's it going to affect your life? If they're no longer the reason for you being excessively timid, angry, sad, if they're gone, it's back on you to come out. And you have to make that determination. You have to make that decision. If they're gone, I have no reason to hide or to have the same issues or imagery. So instead, love. Who am I if they're gone, if they're not affecting me? The answer, the best answer, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. What a relief. That said, we close as follows. Just imagine some beautiful sparkles of light shimmering out in front of you. Shimmering sparkles, beautiful, colorful, opalescent sparkles of light. And that's what the person really looks like. Not the one that did things. This is what their soul and your soul and everybody's soul looks like. Just hear these words, I can see you, and that name of that person. And it's great to see this part of you. To be honest, that's one reason why I was hurt and angry so much, because I wanted to see this part of you, and I didn't. I experienced your ego personality. This is who you really are. Now, I know that's hard to say to some people that caused all kinds of deep, deep hurt, but just do your best. I refuse to hate you. I affirm that there is a light in you made in God's image, and I release you to find that light. I'm already affirming it's there. Therefore, I'm complete with you now. But I release you to find that light in yourself. And one of the beautiful things is that when another soul has seen that light in you, it relinquishes your need, releases your need to behave the way you did with me. You're now free to be a different person. You don't have to be so angry, so afraid, so controlling. I trust in your soul. Your personality, I don't need to. That's not what I'm seeing right now. But I pray that one day your personality will catch up with your soul essence. You have free will to choose when you're doing that, but for me, I'm doing that today. I choose to be my soul. I choose to believe in my freedom and the spark of God that lives and thrives in me. I give thanks, Father, Mother, God, for any image, a person or group that came in, it was necessary somehow. I give thanks that you've created such a container here that I could do this process and trust that it's going to end up okay. We didn't end it by intense goodbyes to people that we judge as mean. This is as deep, loving, and responsible as possible. And I give thanks that this will affect my life on a permanent basis for the better. And so it is. Nice. Just gradually come back to the room. Let yourself integrate fully, feel appreciation. The clearer we become with our stuff, the more we become safe vessels, containers. We hope as we heal, we become safer, but not just from the world. We become safer containers. I walk in safety because I don't have the same triggers that used to keep me reactive. I'm healthier, I'm clearer. It's a beautiful way to look at this and to deal with this. The safer I become, you know what? The more grounded I become. The more grounded I become, the more present. The more present, the more successful, the more effect I can have on people. The ego tells us if you could just dissociate, you'll be safer. Just stay out of your body. And that's logical, by the way. It is, it's logical. If I'm not here, nobody can hurt me. I'll just send my body into the fray. Lots of people spit upon the body and hurt me and yell at me, but I'm not there. But anytime you start to get close to your body, whether it's a process, a ceremony, nature, something starts pulling you to your body, you'll have anxiety and a panic attack because look at what's happened to it. All the people, including yourself, that have neglected it or hurt it, I'm feeling that now, so let me stay out. And it sounds counterintuitive, but you're safer when you're fully present. Okay? And you're more fully present when you feel safe. Brothers and sisters can help us feel safe, and now healing goes to a whole new level. But we can do that for them. Anyone want to share what you heard or said? We're going to do our closing prayer in just a moment. Anybody want to share what you heard or said, or what you heard or experienced in meditation, or what was said that might make a difference in your life? Yes?
I just want to say thank you for creating a safe container. That was so special.
You're welcome, sweetheart. You're welcome. Thanks for trusting. Anyone else? She's thanking for the container. Yes?
Oops.
Oops. Yeah. Forget all the Om Mani Padme Hum. Just go with oops. Yes.
I can trust.
That you can trust. Yes. Even if you think you can't, just find some place. A little, and then you'll realize a little more and a little more and a little more. Yes.
I want to thank our Father, Mother, God, and the cosmic Christ, and our own, all of our beloved I am God presences for this activity.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to say that this is an amazing place.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Well, that you started it off with that acknowledgement of God, God's presence, and then saying that this is an incredible or an amazing place. That's beautifully done. God first, and then to be able to see this is a reflection of God's presence as much as we can co-create in the present moment. Thank you. Yes. Anyone else? Yes.
Being held in a container as you go through that bridge,
The bridge to healing.
it might be control for the start.
Yes.
Get to the midpoint.
Yes.
And trust on the other side.
It should be on the wall of every counselor, therapist in the world. Bridge to healing. You are here. The little arrow. Now, can we talk about that? No, I never want to talk about that. Oh, that would be here still. Second session, 15th, 100th session, and we're still, but the little hint that you look like you're making progress, but you never actually do it. You keep saying, next time we'll talk about that, but when I bring it up, you run. Uh-oh, there's something wrong with that picture. It's very sad. And you don't judge them. What you say is, they're not yet feeling safe enough. Ask yourself as a healer parent, sister, brother, whatever to them, is there something I can do or say to create a safer container so that that would help them make that move? You do all you can to create the container. They still play the negative control, I call it. You might have to say you'll need someone else because you don't want to get sucked into negative control. Don't judge it, see it for what it is. They're afraid. Feel for them, but understand it's very sad. That's how scared they are. But by saying you might need to see somebody else, it does also plant a seed. The reason you're going to see somebody else is because you're not making the move with me. And you're actually taking some of that going, I guess I'm not able to create quite the container. You can take the hit, because that too creates safety, because then they feel for you. I didn't mean to hold back so much with you. Can we try one more time? Sure. You see, do what you can. But you get to the place, trust. It's so beautiful. All hinged on one thing, safety. We're going to take up our collection and do our closing prayer. Online, there'll be a link that you can click, or the square. You can make donations very easily. Just share as trustingly as possible. Know in your abundance, in the abundance of all of God's children. Lack is an illusion, but it's a tenacious one. It's one we learn to believe in. Trust in yourself. Trust in your ability to step over the bridge. And that trust means trust financially and give to tips to people, give advice to people, give smiles. Abundance has nothing to just like exclusive about cash. It's abundance of presence. Your presence and gifting and finances is one form. So thank you. Hold the love offering to your heart. If you don't know the words, it's on the paper in front of you in the seat backs, but it's also posted online. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. A couple of quick announcements. Remember that we have a healing room out here in the parking lot. It's the round room. It's where we have the crystal bed. Some very amazing multi-dimensional healing there. And a lot of you have done that already and really rave about bizarre, like cool things, the visions you have, multi-dimensional experiences, healings. Send those in to us. Let us know so we can let people know, on the website, what you've experienced in the crystal bed, because it is pretty supernatural. If you're watching on social media, or if you're here and you're on social media, we appreciate it. If you watch, you click those things, subscribe, like it, and all that good stuff. This is shown on Facebook Live as well as YouTube. And you can watch these. You can watch them years later. They're there. We have hundreds of free videos on YouTube. Not only the Sunday talks, but some others as well. So check those out if you'd like. And we have from a block from here, we have what's called the Angel Healing Room. And fantastic if you massage, cranial sacral work, all kinds of different healing modalities offered there. Some soul retrieval type work as well. So if you're interested, call the office here, and it's just a block away that we have a really beautiful healing room. And lastly, the Spiritual Counseling Mentoring Circle. We do that the first and third Wednesdays of every month, so that's coming up. And it's from 4 to 6. We do is we put those chairs in a circle, and we sort of just go into some deeper healing. So learning a little bit of healing for yourself, also learning some techniques on how you might be helpful to others. Last but not least, we have our table over there. I announced it last week, and tons of you went over to pick up. Those are my books that we have an abundance of. We emptied a warehouse, and so we have an abundance. So those are like $10 each. If they're CDs, those were $15. They're only $5. Books are typically $20. They're only $10. Bunches of you, lots and lots of you bought them, but we ran out of some, so we restocked them. And also the line was so long for some of them that some of you couldn't wait. But we've redone it. We put a person assigned a person to help you buy those. Cash you can pay right there, or credit card, you can go in the bookstore. But it's the last week we'll have those there. And they're great. Please remember, get any of the books. And I don't typically do a hard sale like this, for my materials, but they're there. And try to think in terms of, for your counselor or a counselor, get the relationships book. For a counselor, get the Dark Night of the Soul book and gift it to them so that they're more educated on what people are going through other than what they learned clinically. Looking into it. A friend, a family member who's not real cosmic, get them, you're not going crazy, you're just waking up. Because it's a softer way of describing what life is really all about, why things fall apart. People that have lost loved ones and whatever, it's really, easy on the eyes, easy on the soul to read that one. There's one on Living A Course in Miracles concepts, really deep. All kinds of goodies. Healing the Heart and Soul. Healing the Heart and Soul, that's a book over there. If we run out of them, bookstore folks, there's more in the bookstore. But the Healing the Heart and Soul is the one that this goodbye exercise is in, and you can read that and use the script of that for anybody. Okay? All right. And that's, counselors should print that thing out and use it with their clients. Goodbye exercise. It's healthy, but it ends really well spiritually, right? You guys did okay with that? Was anybody worried that was there any tension or worry about saying goodbye? Did you think that was going in any weird place? Good. You trusted. And therefore, you end up in the healing at the end. Please rise for our closing prayer. Folks online, God bless you and thank you for joining us and trusting, to watch and trusting to come and visit here. This is a center. It's a building. It's a sacred grounds. It's an amazing place. And I'm wonderful.
That's right.
That's right.
But the folks here, I mean this, the folks here create this container with me. I like doing what I'm doing. But even if it's your first time here, why? You're a musician in this orchestrated experience. So even if you're sitting out there doubting and fearing, you represent the doubt and fear in anybody else that's experiencing and watching this. If you're loving and thriving and trusting, you're symbolizing that. So everyone here plays a part. And generally, we trust and let go. And that's why it's really magnificent. But we also acknowledge that some people can't and they're afraid. And for them, we're sorry that it goes that way for you. We're sorry that, we feel sorrow and compassion that you hurt. But we hold space for that. We don't tell you to catch up. We just hold space. We're all in this together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you. Before you leave, turn to at least one person. Take their hand and say, peace be with you. To you online, peace be with you. Thanks.